Hi everyone, welcome back. This is chapter 6 that speaks on communicating across cultures. So we had your presentations where we focus on the different types of cultures, and it was definitely a learning experience for me, and I hope it was for you. So now we're going to examine culture. You've looked at the verbal and non-verbal elements, but there's a little more that I want you guys to have in terms of understanding. At the end of this chapter in the forum, you are going to compare your presentation and the information given here and share with the class what is so unique about the culture that you presented. So the first part of the chapter focuses on communication and culture, and the whole idea that communication is defined by culture. Your brain, the way your parents taught you, like things like manners and behavior, all of that is linked to culture. Or if they did not teach you, that is still your culture. The environment, your village, your area, your region, the culture, the country you're from, all of those things define. So you look at it, say, the Easterners behave a certain way, the people from the West behave another way, because we define people by their culture. And so culture is the values, attitudes, and beliefs. Values, attitudes, beliefs, orientations, and underlying assumptions prevalent among people within a society. So you find that when you have your particular culture, the way you think, the way you speak, your upbringing, that when you move from your culture and you go into another culture that's different from yours, you tend to feel a bit weird, or you are not even sure how to communicate and behave, and that's called culture shock, where the other culture is quite different. So those of you who are international students, as you come to the USC campus and you are studying, you're going to have a couple situations that might be very culture shock to you, or maybe your whole experience where you can say, oh my goodness, this is definitely different from home. That is because the way people operate different to yours. And that is also even with, say, work environment. You move from one area, you lived in a country area, and you move to city life, culture shock difference. Then within the idea of culture, we have something called dominant cultures and co-cultures. Dominant cultures are where you find that the attitudes, values, beliefs, and customs that the majority of the people in society hold. So each culture or country, for example, Trinidad and Tobago has a dominant Trinidadian culture. It's very laissez-faire. People are always into partying and enjoying themselves. I always tell people there's a hurricane coming and Trinidadians will party. But that doesn't mean every Trinidadian will party. But the dominant culture is that Trinidad is a party island and very joyous people. Then you have co-cultures, and co-cultures are those little subcultures that are in Trinidad. Different regions of Trinidad. You have the north, central, south, deep south, as we class some of them. And within those cultures, you find people operate differently. Right here on USC campus, we have a co-culture. There's certain norms. For example, we don't drink, we don't smoke, we're not supposed to be gambling, and all those things on campus using obscene language. That is part of our co-culture. So there's factors that actually influence the whole idea of communication and culture. And the first one we have, race is your biological makeup. It has to do with your skin color, your eye color, your hair texture, your body shape. That is specific to you. That's your race. Then we have ethnicity, and ethnicity in itself is more like it's distinct. It refers to the classification of people based on shared characteristics, so like nationality, geographic location. Language is part of ethnicity and not of race. So the way you look, your eye color, your skin color, that is race. Ethnicity now has to do with where your nationality, what part of the world you're born, your language. So race and ethnicity are definitely two different terms. Then you have sex and gender. Sex and gender, people class it again as something that is quite simple. Then we have religions, and in each country there are multiple religions generally, and so that is more or less individuals' belief system that governs how they look at life, their perspective, the type of food even they eat. For example, with Seventh-day Adventists, there's certain things that they class that they do not eat. Then you have sexual orientation, and sexual orientation is more or less if you're heterosexual, homosexual. So that's your sexual orientation. Then social class. And social class in some cultures are so important. It defines who you can even marry, what school you go to, who you interact in terms of having friends. And social class, even though a lot of cultures try to say they don't have it or say it doesn't exist, most cultures do have social class. And in India they had a caste system, and they're saying now they don't have it. But if you speak to anyone from India, they can share with you that the caste system is still there because it's in the mind of the people. Certain class of people cannot interact with others. And then we have age. Age more or less refers to, like, say, age group of individuals. A lot of times we generalize people and say, oh, young people of today don't do this, or the older folks do this. That's where we classify people on age. And then we have cultural identity. And cultural identity helps to mold the self-concept, because when you're able to identify within a certain culture, it helps to define who you are and that role that you have in society. So we are going to look at identifying cultural norms and values. And the first one we have is individualism versus collectivism. And collectivism is where an individual focuses not on themselves, but the name of their family, their people, their religion. So that as individuals make decisions, they don't do it for themselves, but they do it for their family, their religion, their culture. You find a lot of Middle East and even Asian cultures follow this. They are not very individualistic. Their name means nothing unless it's linked with a family. Whereas in the Western world, it's more individualistic. Individuals have their own name, their own identity, and they fight for independence of themselves. So that, you do something and it's for you. It's not for your family, it's not for your friends. I do this to me. This is my world. So that's individualism. Collectivism is where the name is it's not really about you, it's about all of us. We are together, a team, a family. The next one that we have here in the text is the uncertainty avoidance. And uncertainty avoidance occurs in, cultures differ in how the members feel about and deal with people. So you find low uncertainty avoidance cultures like the US and say certain places in Europe like Sweden and Denmark. They are more tolerant to uncertainty in how people behave in relationships, so that they meet people of different culture and they'll be like, okay, I'll tolerate it. And you find high uncertainty is where you have low tolerance. And places like Japan, a lot of those Asian cultures like Japan, China, they say even Peru is one of those places that don't adapt well to culture. You come and join our country, you have to adapt to our culture and the way we do things. So that is high uncertainty avoidance.